Hi YouTube, this is Fragments of Memory, aka the Armchair Philosopher. I'm doing a vid response to a young lady, a YouTuber who calls herself the Oreo Writer. I found her video irresistible. It's titled, Why I Don't Date Black Guys. And she has a blog called theoreoexperience.com. Very interesting. And she's a pretty young lady too. She just went through all the reasons that she doesn't date black guys. And it wasn't because and I applaud her for this. She never said it was because she hated black men or that she did not like black men. So I got to give her props right there. It was just the fact that in her life, she was never really around a lot of black men. Well, number one, she was the type of woman that nobody went for. And her and this is based on what she's saying, not what my opinion is, obviously. Um, but she was just talking about how men never really asked her out. Men never really approached her, and the few that did are the ones that have usually don't make the right kind of comments. Usually it's, oh, you got some nice boobies. I just had to say something to you, as opposed to, hey, you're a good looking lady. Can we talk for a minute? And she went through a lot of things she did, like playing the piccolo and Mozart and things like that, like playing the piccolo and listening to Mozarts and listening to Broadway show tunes. And she talked about how she was into swing dancing and AP calculus. So this is a brainy chick right here. And it does seem that many men, especially many men in general, aren't checking for aren't checking for the brainy chick who knows calculus and so on and so forth. And she even talked about going to the equestrian center. So well, first of all, she's a sister that knows what the word equestrian means. And then she's a sister who rides horses. So I can see where she's coming from because I've experienced that myself. I've had many black women say to me, "Oh, you talk very proper. Oh, you sound are you from St. Louis, because that's where I reside, is in St. Louis." So it's, "Oh, you are you from St. Louis, because you don't sound like it. You sound like you're from out of town." As a kid, I was called an Oreo because I talked white. And I was the guy that read comics and science fiction and fantasy. I was the kid that loved playing RPGs. I was the kid that, and this was in my high school years, and I was in drama. So I too was exposed to show tunes. And while my peers were listening to Crucial Conflict and Bone Thugs and Mariah Carey and Mary J. Blige, I was listening to rhythm and blues from the 60s and 70s. I was listening to classical music. I was listening to jazz. I was also listening to show tunes because of being in drama. So I can feel exactly where you're coming from. I don't consider it as a blast against black men. It's just basically, and there are many places even today that I go to that there may not be a lot of black women in those situations. And then in a lot of situations, most black women see me as kind of this oddball anyway. And I can't speak for every black woman on the planet, but the black women that I've encountered in my life have either seen me as a really good friend, or they see me as, oh, you're weird, you're square, and I can't deal with a square or weird dude. So they'll go mess with some brother that might have a little more quote unquote street cred. And yes, late bloomers can be socially awkward. I know all about that social awkwardness. I too am very socially awkward. Well, I'm going to say keep your head up. If someone trips off the fact that you aren't with a black man, that's really not any of their business, honestly. Um, but I'm with you on that, on the whole, like, black thing. I even did two vids about this, about what is black. What does it mean to quote unquote be black? And what is blackness? So just know that I sympathize with you. I think this video is just me in a sense saying I sympathize with that. I know how that feels. And I understand that it is not a put down of black men. It is merely a reality that you face. It is your reality of, oh, I'm not always in situations where I meet a lot of blacks because of horse riding and swing dancing, and the brothers and sisters want to do this, that, and the third over here. Well, that's not even my scene. I want to do this over here. And usually when I go over to the places over here, I'm encountered by mostly white people. So I can understand where you're coming from. When you start talking about the Renaissance Fair, though, the Ren Fair, you took me back to when I went to a Ren Fair. And actually twice. I went to a Ren Fair like maybe 2, 3 times. And it was way out in like Wentzville, Missouri. And great times. But when I was in it, I felt like I was Martin Lawrence in Black Knight, and it was just a fun time. But I can totally sympathize and empathize with where you're coming from. So just keep your head up, Miss Oreo Writer. And I loved your blog. I like some of the stuff you talked about your blog. Talked about on your blog, excuse me. Well, thank you for listening and tuning in. Be easy like Sunday morning.